real quick, this is Daniel Crawford here, and this is just marking a transition for me in this show, transferring models from the podcast to the YouTube show and vice versa. So these are all the snap reviews that I've recorded since Fastlane leading up to Wrestlemania, and I will be recording a show wherein you can see my face in a video form for predictions right before WrestleMania Night 1 and right before WrestleMania Night 2, and I will start doing snap reviews directly on the YouTube show instead of on the podcast. The podcast will merely feature either a weekly or monthly review. I haven't figured it out yet, so enjoy! The Fastlane to WrestleMania has come and gone, and now, of course, we are hurtling towards the granddaddy of them all, the Showcase of the Immortals, the greatest spectacle in all of sports entertainment, WrestleMania. But, before we got there, we gotta get through a number of things that we saw that we were going to see at Fastlane. We saw the United States Championship defended successfully by Riddle, which led to, predictably, the end of Retribution as they attacked Mustafa Ali, as I predicted. You also saw the Women's Tag Team Championship. The titles were retained by Shayna and Nia, of course, planting the seeds for them to be broken up in the near future, with Reginald, of course, playing a possible foil for them. However, Sasha and Bianca, they did not get along, and of course, Sasha is gradually turning heel, of course, paving the way for Bianca to become the babyface in that encounter at WrestleMania. You also saw the Intercontinental Championship match, and a really good match between Apollo Crews and Big E. The ending was kind of questionable. No doubt, it probably didn't come out exactly like they wanted it to, but you got the point. It's supposed to be a controversial ending. I don't even think Apollo Crews' left shoulder was on the ground when he was being pinned. It was kind of it was supposed to be like kind of a double pin, so I guarantee that's going to lead to a rematch between them at WrestleMania. You also saw Seth Rollins take on Shinsuke Nakamura. Seth won. I think he actually won cleanly. I kind of turned my head at the time when the finish came, but it seemed like he actually kind of won clean. And, of course, that paves the way for him to take on Cesaro. But that was also a really good match. Drew McIntyre in a no-holds-barred classic with Sheamus. I really enjoyed this. Drew McIntyre won. Spoiler alert, I pretty much almost entirely predicted the entire card accurately. Let's put it that way. Of course, except for the main event, it was a little bit tweaked from what I predicted. But anyways, get back to Drew and Sheamus. That was awesome. A lot of great spots there. Hopefully Drew's not really injured because he was seeming like favoring his back after the match ended. But we'll see where that goes. And then in Alexa Bliss versus Randy Orton, this was a fascinating quote-unquote match. It was entirely just story, but Alexa's like using little like magic tricks, if you want to call it that, here and there. But it featured the amazing return of an even more horror-esque Fiend who looks like he just came from hell, and it's like his whole suit is like partially melted. Like, I don't know. This is a great. Hopefully, this is one of like 3 or 4 incarnations of Bray that we see. But I definitely enjoyed this version of the Fiend, and I don't see how this Fiend taking on Randy Orton at WrestleMania could be anything more than basically a squash match. But it looks like both Alexa and Bray were undead as they entered into this part of the story. And then we have our main event, a great Universal title match with Edge as the special enforcer between Roman Reigns and Daniel Bryan. Roman Reigns retained after an extended battle where he actually ended up tapping that, after Daniel Bryan had accidentally taken out the referee, leading to Edge enforcing the match, serving as the official. Jey Uso came down, attacked everyone. Daniel Bryan accidentally hit Edge with a steel chair, which set Edge off as he attacked Daniel Bryan, preventing him from being able to get a submission victory. And then, of course, he also attacked Roman to kind of balance it out. But it was clear that Edge, as I did predict, did screw Daniel Bryan out of the match. However, I thought the match would be a little bit more inconclusive. It may still very well be, but I can almost guarantee that this is going to lead to Daniel Bryan being inserted into that WrestleMania match. And I will definitely love seeing that. So, great episode, not great episode, but great pay-per-view, Fastlane. Enjoyed it, and I cannot wait for WrestleMania. Raw from March 22nd, 2021 was yet another really good episode, I would say. You saw things start off with Bobby Lashley taking on Sheamus. Bobby Lashley won, but then the Hurt Business started attacking Sheamus. Angered Drew McIntyre. He came out, tried to stop the beatdown. Got himself a little bit of a scuffle with the Hurt Business. Bobby Lashley tried to go after him, but MVP convinced him not to. This led later on to a handicap match wherein Drew McIntyre defeated Cedric Alexander and Shelton Benjamin to keep them banned from the ring at WrestleMania. This angered Lashley, and he went to the locker room and kind of offered like I guess you want to say a bounty on Drew McIntyre to prevent him from going to WrestleMania. You also saw Peyton Royce go toe-to-toe with the women's champion, Asuka. It was a pretty good matchup there. I would say a really good match, actually. And, Asuka won. But then, right after Asuka won, and it was a really competitive match, after that match, Rhea Ripley made her arrival. I thought she was going to be debuting like in action, but, that's fine that she didn't, because she came down and she challenged Asuka to a championship match at WrestleMania. Asuka accepted, then we move on. Miz, of course, had Miz TV, started lashing out Bad Bunny, saying that he's going to release like a hit, kind of a song that is a diss track, if you will, against Bad Bunny. And then he challenged Bad Bunny to WrestleMania. Bad Bunny later on accepted after Miz defeated Hardy. And, so I'm actually kind of looking forward to this. And, Bad Bunny got revenge on Miz for the guitar shot to the back last time around. Then we saw some action for to tease for the Tag Team Championship. AJ Styles took on Kofi Kingston, where Kofi Kingston ended up winning the match. And this was pretty good as well. Actually, it was one of my favorite parts of the night. But before this matchup, Styles and Omos, they were having this promo. New Day and they kind of interrupted it. And then they were challenging Miz's knowledge, well not Miz, but excuse me, AJ Styles' knowledge of his so-called friend Omos. He didn't know anything about Omos. And they're trying to convince him to to turn on Styles. And that's what I'm starting to think is going to probably happen at WrestleMania. So this was pretty good, funny. A lot of hilarious stuff involving Riddle throughout the night. Riddle kind of interrupted AJ Styles and Omos in the back. And then he later on interrupted Sheamus. Got beat up by Sheamus for doing so. And that was pretty funny. Like, was it something I said? That was pretty funny. A tag team match with Nia and Shayna where they defeated Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke. This was an interesting match. Not one of the best matches of the night, but it was still decent, I thought, with Reginald being involved and kind of providing a distraction, which allowed Nia and Shayna to win, even though Shayna despises Reginald. And the best part, I think, of the night, some people were probably going to disagree with me. Oh yeah, touch base with this about Shane, Riker, and Elias were teasing Braun. Braun defeated Elias, and then Shane and Braun are going to fight at WrestleMania. The main event segment involved Orton and The Fiend. Orton, he summoned The Fiend after Alexa kind of warned him earlier in the night not to do so. He did this. Fiend came down. Orton tried to set him on fire. It failed. Fiend attacked him. Alexa and Fiend stood tall and, of course, pointed to the WrestleMania sign, which means Orton and The Fiend are going to fight at WrestleMania, as was easily predicted, but still, it's going to be something to look forward to. This is going to be a good WrestleMania. I don't give a damn what any of you say. I'm looking forward to it. Just over 2 weeks away. Awesome. Snap review of NXT on March 24th, 2021. A damn near perfect show, honestly, if I may say so, which I will say so. And honestly, like from start to finish, I was enjoying myself. The only part that wasn't perfect was the squash match for for Walter, the WWE United Kingdom Championship, or as they call him now, the NXT United Kingdom Champion. He crushed Drake Maverick in a very brief match after Drake Maverick had gone into the Imperium locker room demanding to know where Killian Dane was. So both Killian Dane and Timothy Thatcher are missing thanks to Imperium apparently trying to recruit both of them. So with that in mind, we've just had a really good episode of NXT. Like I said, started off with a great women's match featuring Io Shirai tagging up with Zoe Stark, who I'm really starting to like, against Raquel Gonzalez and Dakota Kai. That was a great match. You saw, obviously, more drama involving all the former undisputed members, with the exception of Bobby Fish, who's still out with an injury. Roderick Strong is trying to recover from the loss of his buddies in the Undisputed Era, And Cameron Grimes was trying to capitalize on him being down on his luck, trying to offer to buy the rights to Undisputed Era. Roderick Strong beats him up as a result, which, you know, was funny because it left Cameron Grimes going, "That's not how you do business." And that was hilarious to me. But you also had some really great matches. I liked the Kushita's match against LA Knight. That was really enjoyable. Yeah, I did not mean to say I did not mean to say LA Knight. I meant to say Kushida against Jordan Devlin, which was a really good match. Featured a really awesome Asai moonsault spot from Jordan Devlin, which really caught me like, oh wow, that was awesome. But you also saw a great LA Knight match against Bronson Reed. Bronson Reed got the victory, which kind of surprised me. I didn't think they would give him the victory this early in the feud, but that's okay because LA Knight is such a charismatic superstar that he will recover in his own right. So I do not expect him to be buried, I guess some smarks might say. But, that was all good stuff there. You also saw some stuff between Karrion Kross and Oney Lorcan. They had a really good match. A lot of great matches tonight, but Kross defeated Oney, and then Balor came out as Kross was making his comments. They had a really good stare down there. Regal announced that the North American Championship will be defended at TakeOver Night 2, where the winners of a Battle Royal and then a Gauntlet Eliminator. I really hate that AEW and WWE calls these now Eliminators, which makes no sense to me because it's kind of redundant, but whatever. But yeah, that will be the outcome there, which has me interested. Pete Dunne promising he'll win that. So the Robert Stoneberg reaching out to Mercedes Martinez, trying to get her to tag up with Aaliyah. She agreed reluctantly, and then of course she and Aaliyah lost to Shotzi and Ember in the NXT Women's Tag Team Title match. And then you had the main event that I just mentioned, Jordan Devlin and Kushida, with a contract signing with Kyle O'Reilly and Adam Cole, where they signed a contract to have an unsanctioned match between them at TakeOver. I am ecstatic for this. NXT just consistently probably the best show of the week. Looking forward to the next one. Alright, so AEW for March 24th, 2021. Another decent episode of Dynamite. Kicked off with a match between Omega and Sydal. Actually, probably had my favorite commentary moment of the week when Don Callis was calling Sydal a young upstart, and then JR responded that Sydal is older than Omega, and then he told Callis that he only opened up his mouth to make noise. It was hilarious. You also saw some stuff involving the Dark Order, obviously, as they were getting prepared for their main event for the TNT Championship. I'll get into that in a second. Adam Page had a brief match with a guy named Cesaro. I can't remember his last name. And it wasn't one of my matches of the night. Actually, probably my least favorite match, just because of how short it was. I mean, I imagine it could have been better, but they're trying to put Page over, especially as he is in an inner conflict with himself about whether or not he's going to join the Dark Order officially. Lance Archer had a promo, basically said that Sting is overlooking him and that he looked up to Sting and he's disappointed at Sting and everyone else isn't talking about him instead of talking about Darby, so he's trying to make time for everyone to pay attention to him. Thunder Rosa had some comments that were recorded from last week, and then Britt Baker had an interview where she actually kind of called out Mick Foley. Apparently Mick Foley replied. I haven't seen what Mick Foley's reply is, but Baker said that she is the legend in the making right now in AEW, and that Tony Khan needs to pay attention to such. Christian was seen in the back. He and Frankie Kazarian met each other for the first time since Impact, when Christian Cage was in Impact. And of course, they're going to take on each other next week on Dynamite when Christian has his first match in 7 years on television. Such a shame that WWE didn't pick up this opportunity here. Shawn Spears and FTR defeated the Varsity Blondes and Dante from Top Flight in my second least favorite match of the night, just because of it was, I don't know, it just wasn't catching with me. It was really more just a match to put over the Pinnacle, and it was okay. It's just, I don't know, I'm getting tired of the constant high flying here and there everywhere. And there wasn't as much of it in this match as what there was in the Young Bucks match later on, but I don't know, it just the match just didn't, for whatever reason, didn't connect with me as much. It was good, just wasn't great. Pinnacle then had a post-match promo And then Team Taz had a promo after that, wherein it was teased that Brian Cage might be leaving Team Taz soon. QT Marshall had a promo where he said that he's kind of tired of living in Cody Rhodes' shadow. He and Cody Rhodes will have a match next week. Jade Cargill is going to apparently be making an appearance soon. I think next week she'll be in the match. Lucha Brothers and Kid defeated Young Bucks and Cutler. That was an interesting match. It was really good. Then Omega came down, basically told the Bucks that they have turned their back on him, that the only reason why he chose AEW over WWE and JPW was because of the Young Bucks, and that the Young Bucks have turned their back on him. Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston issuing a warning to the Good Brothers, saying they're going to come back, and that it's going to come back tenfold on them, basically. Ty Conti had an interesting match. It was a really good match. It didn't quite make a 10 for me, but it was still pretty good against Nyla Rose. I was surprised that Ty actually won. And then, of course, after the match, you saw Bunny and Sheeta. They all come down, and then followed by what is called the Hardy Family Office. They came down, saying Matt Hardy saying that he's tired of people of the HFO being ignored and overlooked, including Allie, who hasn't really been featured in a match in AEW in like over a year, I think. Then after that, we saw this stupid promo for Cassidy, Chuck, Mira, and Sabian. I'm just not into the whole video game-oriented storyline. I'm sorry, it's not clicking with me. Scorpio Sky had an interesting video promoting the AEW Dark Elevation. Excuse me, I almost said something else there. And then the TNT Championship match, Darby Allin retained in a really good match against John Silver. Afterwards, the HFO interfered, following the matchup, rather. And, we saw a little bit of chaos, which, of course, my recording of this show got cut off because I limited it to 10 p.m. because of South Park. So, with that, now move on to the next one. SmackDown from March 26, 2021 was indeed an awesome show. Arguably, I think, probably one of the best episodes of SmackDown in quite some time. I think it was a perfect show. Honestly, I'm not sure how it could have been any better considering the stories they were telling. I mean, you kicked it off with a recap of Fastlane. Daniel Bryan coming down saying that, there's some injustice that's been done and that he demands his spot challenging for the World Championship or Universal title at WrestleMania in some way, shape, or form. Adam Pearce comes down after Daniel Bryan basically holds the show hostage, says he's going to make a decision later on in the night. We'll get back to that in a second. Of course, Edge also tried to prevent something from being done here, and I'll also get more into that here in a second. Seth Rollins and Shinsuke Nakamura had another match that Seth Rollins seemingly won clean. He, of course, started to brutalize Shinsuke after Cesaro came back. He had been, quote-unquote, injured after the actions of Seth Rollins a few weeks ago. Of course, Cesaro attacked Seth again. Seth wasn't happy. Later on, Seth was demanding, well, not demanding, but he challenged Cesaro to a match at WrestleMania. Incensed about the fact that Cesaro tried to do another swing on him. And Cesaro attacked him during this interview and then proceeded to do a swing on him. Good stuff here. After this, we saw a 6-man tag. Apollo Crews, Alpha Academy, taking on Street Profits and Big E. Apollo and Alpha Academy actually won and clean here, although it was, by way of a distraction somewhat for Big E. But Apollo Crews, he picked up a victory. It looked really good going into WrestleMania, just 2.5 weeks away. Crazy to think about that. Of course, then we saw the Kevin Owens show. Sami Zayn was the special guest. Kevin Owens demanded an explanation for why. Basically, he wanted to know if Sami Zayn would face him at WrestleMania, rather. Sami Zayn agreed, and then Kevin Owens proceeded to beat the hell out of Sami Zayn for that haluva kick last week on SmackDown. Of course, that was after Sami Zayn agreed to face him at WrestleMania. Then we saw Bianca Belair taking on Natalya. She beat Natalya as Sasha Banks was on commentary. And then, of course, after the match, Sasha Banks brutally attacked Bianca in a great fashion here. And then we saw a matchup with Dolph Ziggler versus Rey Mysterio, a really good match featuring probably one of my most favorite zigzags that I've ever seen. You'd have to see this spot where Rey Mysterio kind of bounces off the ropes, going to go backwards, and then Ziggler jumps up and hits him with the zigzag. It is definitely an out of nowhere move. It was awesome. But during this, I had one of my favorite commentary moments when Corey Graves was criticizing the participation, rather
the athleticism and seriousness of Rey Mysterio as a superstar nowadays, saying that he is focusing more on being a father. Michael Cole tried to defend Rey Mysterio, saying, he would be proud to be a father of such a great son. And Corey Graves said, well, what makes you think he's so great? So that was great. And a little criticism of Rey Mysterio, and then adding in Dominic after that. And then, of course, we had Adam Pearce's decision. He decided to make that Universal title match a triple threat involving Edge, Roman Reigns, and Daniel Bryan. Edge, of course, has been showing signs ever since Fastlane, maybe even a little bit before that, if you look back, showing signs of him becoming a heel, and he went all out here. I mean, he kind of broke down. You can see he was seething about the decision to make it a triple threat. He tried to get Roman Reigns to make it not happen, to try and interfere with this decision, try and put pressure on Adam Pearce. But then all hell broke loose. Edge kind of got the upper hand on everyone, tried to do a concerto to both Roman and Daniel Bryan, and of course just beat up a bunch of WWE officials. So I expect some kind of temporary suspension, storyline obviously wise, for the last couple weeks leading into WrestleMania for Edge. Either way, like I said, an excellent show of SmackDown, just getting me more excited for WrestleMania.
The March 29th, 2021 episode of Monday Night Raw was, another really good show. Just quickly go down the line here. We saw Matt Riddle take on Sheamus in the opening bout. Sheamus actually pulled off the victory, which led to the creation of a matchup between Sheamus and Riddle for the U.S. Championship at WrestleMania. This was all pretty good. Riddle was throughout the night pretty awesome, including a spot later on where he apparently forgot his line, and then he walked away saying he forgot what he was saying. And it was gold. I know it wasn't intended to be that funny, but it was great. And just to let you know that they really do record those backstage bits live. I mean, and if they didn't, if they recorded that and decided to air it, that's just better. But we also saw Braun Strowman and Shane McMahon and continuing their kind of goofy feud here. I'm looking forward to their match, but this was kind of a lame segment, I thought. This whole Shane McMahon picking on Braun's intelligence thing. Like, I could get why it was supposed to be funny, but I wasn't as into it as I was hoping. And I just want to see Strowman just tear them apart in their cage match at WrestleMania. Dirt Sheets was pretty funny. You had the Hey Hey Hop Hop song by Miz and Morrison, and then Priest and Bunny came out. Of course, this was a pretty good bit, I thought. Looking forward to this match in its own right, because I think it actually will hold up. Lashley took on Shelton Benjamin, defeated him, and of course, Cedric Alexander, who also wanted a piece of Lashley, because this is how the show started out. Actually, I forgot to mention this, the Hurt Business broke up. And, they broke up because, Cedric Alexander and Shelton Benjamin, they failed to put down Drew McIntyre. So, unfortunately, they ended the Hurt Business, one of my favorite stables in a long time. But, it was pretty good, regardless. I think that it's time to unleash Lashley. Like, I was loving the Hurt Business, but they may have actually reached the limit as to what they can do with it. So, it's probably an appropriate decision to break them up. New Day had what they called game night, and this was pretty funny. They were trying to play Pictionary and charades. Omos was not having it, and instead he just went ahead and destroyed the New Day after Woods won over Styles via disqualification. So looking forward to that. Alexa's Playhouse was pretty demented. Alexa, sort of foretelling the beginning of the end for Randy Orton, and of course this demonic fiend was sitting right next to her on a swing. You also saw Drew McIntyre kind of go off on the locker room, saying he wants to see someone step up. Kind of headbutted Drew Gulak and attacked some of the others back there. Strowman said he was coming after whoever was going to be the world champion after he takes care of Shane. Naomi defeated Shayna Baszler in an okay segment to kind of boost that, what I'm assuming was going to be a triple threat tag team match for the women's tag team titles. And then we saw contract signing where Rhea Ripley kind of threw a table at Asuka after they both signed a contract, and it smacked Asuka right in the head. So hopefully she doesn't have a concussion. Good grief. Saw an interesting, or I thought entertaining, series of matches involving Drew, kind of like a small gauntlet series. Drew first defeated Ricochet, and then he had to fend off an attack by Mustafa Ali, defeated Mustafa Ali. Then, of course, he invited Lashley to come down, but as Lashley and him were about to go at it, as they went at it, Baron Corbin came down and attacked
Drew McIntyre to end the show. And then, as the show was ending, MVP said, "This is the Hurt Business," which I think kind of indicates that Baron Corbin, King Corbin, is apparently in the Hurt Business, which is interesting. So, anyways, that was Raw. Looking forward to the next one. NXT for March 31st, 2021. A damn near perfect show. And of course, the final score for me for the show is actually going to be a little bit above 10 because that promotional video for Adam Cole and Roderick Strong to me earned not a 10 but a 15. Like it was so good, like movie quality. Like really did a good job of getting me amped up for that show. So all I can say is that this show, this episode of NXT was a great go home show for Takeover Stand and Deliver, and it's sad that next week will be the last Wednesday of NXT. Of course, before it moves to Tuesday nights. So the Wednesday night wars are over after this. After the first night of Takeover Stand and Deliver. So this show was a great episode. Like I said, did a lot of talking about Takeover throughout the show. Grimes and Strong had a really good match in the beginning, with Grimes picking up the victory. Karrion Kross and Finn Balor had a really good promotional effort throughout the event, building up for that NXT Championship match. Throughout the night, you also saw a number of other things, like Io Shirai and Raquel Gonzalez kept basically tearing each other apart, attacking each other left and right, starting with right after Raquel Gonzalez's match against Zoe Stark. But either way, this thing, actually it was a little bit before that match that they started fighting each other. Indy Hartwell and Candice LeRae, they won their match in a tag team match. Of course, then they successfully issued a challenge to the NXT Women's Tag Team Champions. So we'll see that. Santos Escobar defeated Tyler Breeze in another really good match. And then we saw Legado del Fantasma, MSK, and then Grizzled Young Veterans pretty much boosting, getting us amped up for this triple threat tag team championship match to determine the new tag team champions. Then we saw a dog throughout the night. It just it was, where's this dog coming from? It was heading into the headquarters for NXT, into the Performance Center. And next thing you know, it stands right next to a woman. We don't know who the woman is, but she has boots on, certain kind of boots. And I'm thinking it's very possible that this is Taya Valkyrie. I'm not sure what they're going to call her in WWE, but this is the wife of John Morrison, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's who this is, because I know she did sign with WWE. Xia Li won a handicap match. An okay segment. It wasn't the best thing in the world, but it was an okay segment. Tommaso Ciampa, of course, is going to take on Volta for the NXT UK Championship next week on that night one of Stand and Deliver, and it's just going to be awesome. I'm so looking forward to it. I love Walter and I love Ciampa. This is going to be great. And then, of course, you saw this Battle Royal where the final 6 men would all go into a gauntlet match on the first night of TakeOver, and, of course, with the winner of that gauntlet match challenging Johnny Gargano the second night. But LA Knight picked up a huge victory here, becoming the last. He won, eliminating Dexter Lumis, which means that LA Knight will be the last entrant in the gauntlet match, and the first entrant will be Leon Ruff as he takes on Swerve, Isaiah Swerve Scott. So this was just, and it had a great ending. This was just a solid show. I know I probably went over my 3 minutes that I usually try to allot myself, but this was just an excellent show and it deserves a lot of talking about. So looking forward to the next one. So AEW on March 31st, 2021 was actually pretty good. And after I watched this show, it kind of got me excited for when NXT moves to Tuesday, so I'll be able to watch both shows without the pressure of having to watch both of them in one night. And the reason why that's important is I won't have to avoid Twitter for forever. But having said that, there's quite a bit of stuff from this show. I just want to highlight a handful of things. Christian Cage, he had his debut match, won it, as he should have. And that was pretty good. You saw Sting and Darby have an interesting video, which I liked. Jade had another interesting video. I mean, the whole show was very solid. It was definitely a good show. I still think NXT was better, but it is what it is. QT Marshall and Cody kind of had a no contest as the Nightmare Family and their trainees kind of had a falling out with QT, basically, apparently forming a new stable and breaking with the Nightmare Family. Scorpio Sky and Paige, they had a Ethan Page, they had a promo. You know, I was kind of lukewarm on it, but I still gave it a 10 just because, you know, it was still well done. Velvet had an interview interrupted by Jade. Jade attacked her. Moxley gave a really good promo because, you know, he's really good at that. Then he had a okay match, which I gave a 9, with Cesar Bononi. I really wasn't interested in the match, I'm not going to lie, but I still gave it a 9 just because, you know, it was solid. Those very rarely ever bad matches in AEW. Team Taz had an interesting thing in the back, kind of teasing, once again, that Brian Cage will be leaving soon. The Pinnacle, they got attacked by the Inner Circle, so this feud is going to the next level. Like it, good stuff. Don Callis, sort of hinting that that Matt Jackson may be very well be turning heel or something before too long, because he was really emphasizing this focus on Matt Jackson. And Matt Jackson was the one who had that singles bout recently as well. Like Matt Jackson's had a lot of emphasis on himself alone. So I hope they don't break up the Young Bucks, but you know, I can see them also doing it in the near future, which I personally think would be a mistake. Lucha Bros versus Omega and the Good Brothers. I'm not going to lie, I was barely paying attention to this match. This is one of the problems with having so many tag matches or something over time. Is although this was the first tag match of the night, I still was just kind of detached from it. I mean, I guess I've seen just about everything these guys can do, and you know, kudos to them. They're awesome. I don't really hate anyone in the match. It's just for whatever reason, my mind drifted away, and maybe if Pac was in there, maybe I would have paid more attention. I don't know, but I think he's injured or something. But anyways, it was a good match. Now, I was paying attention to it loosely, but it was only halfway. Moxley came down. Omega and his crew sort of confronted Moxley. Moxley actually confronted them. And then the Young Bucks came down to back up Moxley. I still think the Young Bucks are probably going to turn heel before too long. I can still see it coming, but, you know, we'll see. Britt Baker and Rebel had a little fake interview where Britt Baker's teasing that Thunder Rosa has to build up her win-loss record on Elevation and Dark. You know, that's she's saying because their unsanctioned match did not count, because it didn't. Nyla Rose and Allie, they took on Shida and Conti. Allie got her first victory in, like, I think a year. I mean, we haven't seen Allie in the ring in like a year, at least not on not on AEW Dynamite, but either way, it was an okay match. We also saw this Jurassic Express had a promo, and the arcade match, which I was not looking forward to. I didn't care for it, and that should turn out to be a really good match, and featured the return of Trent and Chris Statlander. We haven't seen Statlander in a year. I think it was like last year in February. We haven't seen her since then. I believe that's when it was. It was at Revolution, I'm pretty sure, or right before Revolution last year. But yeah, it was cool seeing them back. So I had to give that definitely a 10. Like I said, solid show. Looking forward to the next one. Alright. SmackDown from April 2nd, 2021 was yet another excellent episode of SmackDown. I mean, this show can almost do no wrong. It's just that damn good. You know, opening thing. Everything about this obviously is built around Edge, Daniel Bryan, and Roman Reigns for their upcoming match at WrestleMania. I cannot wait for this match. But of course, we're going to get to that in a second. We saw the Alpha Academy looking really good as they picked up the victory in an 8-man tag alongside the Dirty Dogs against the Street Profits and the Mysterios. We saw Sonya Deville do some more stuff in the back. I suspect she's eventually going to get back to the ring, but I don't know, I'm interested in what she's doing with this stuff in the back with Adam Pearce. Carmella, we saw her in a match later on in the show when she was defeated by Bianca Belair. Both women's matches were shorter than I liked. Because you saw Natty defeating Shayna Baszler. Obviously, thanks to a small package that kind of went wrong for Shayna Baszler. That match was way too short. But, you know, the post-match and everything kind of almost made up for it a little bit. Billy Kay giving a headshot to Carmella was pretty funny. Logan Paul came down for Sami Zayn's documentary trailer. And this was funny because the video was so freaking hilarious. One part killed me is the whole flat earther thing came up. They asked Sami Zayn if he was a flat earther. He's like, "Wait, you think this is connected?" The whole thing has got to be a trolling effort against AJ Styles. It's just tormenting poor AJ Styles for coming out and saying he was a flat earther, as stupid as that is. Still, that was great. Logan Paul looked like he was like open to Kevin Owens saying that Sami Zayn was kind of insane. Kevin Owens attacked Sami Zayn. Pushed Logan Paul out of the way, so we'll see where this goes in WrestleMania. I'm guessing Logan Paul's going to be at WrestleMania as well, which is cool. And then we saw Bianca Belair, like I said, defeating Carmella. That was interesting as it led to Sasha Banks, of course, predictably attacking Bianca, which is fine. King Corbin having a promo about his matchup against Drew McIntyre apparently coming up this Monday. We found out that SmackDown this coming up week is going to be like a pre-show version of WrestleMania. It's going to be like a pre-show of WrestleMania in its own right. So, it's cool, but I'm sad that some of these matches are not taking place at WrestleMania. I mean, maybe they'll keep doing this every year and make the pre-show far more prestigious than what it has been, but I don't know. I was looking forward to the Andre the Giant Battle Royal being at WrestleMania, but hey, at least a lot of these guys are getting TV time on SmackDown, I guess. Apollo Crews with an interesting promo. I do like this character. I know some people maybe think it's racist. I don't think it's racist. I mean, if he's really Nigerian, I still haven't looked into it. Then he's doing the job pretty well. So I'm really into him. Then of course everything, like I said, wrapped up. Edge is like on this tirade throughout the whole show about Daniel Bryan being an asshole and taking his spotlight. He was on commentary during the street fight between Daniel Bryan and Uso. Bryan won that. Edge and Daniel Bryan got into it. Daniel Bryan took him out. And then, of course, he took Roman Reigns out. So, Daniel Bryan ended the show on top. And I'm predicting at the end of next week's episode of SmackDown, we'll see Roman Reigns on top after beating down the other two. So, really good story going into WrestleMania. I am super excited. WrestleMania week begins now. The April 5th, 2021 edition of Monday Night Raw, the go-home show for Raw for WrestleMania. As we head in to this 37th installment of this pay-per-view, I think this episode of Raw did a really good job of getting us prepared for WrestleMania 37. I mean, I know they haven't called, they haven't said like the number of WrestleMania since 30. They kind of avoid it because I guess McMahon supposedly doesn't like people to be reminded how old WrestleMania is. I don't see any problem with reminding people how old it is, but it is what it is. Anyways, this was a solid show. The opening bout was the only match that was the only part of the show that was kind of meh to me. I mean, it was Xavier Woods versus AJ Styles. I'm really into this feud for the Raw Tag Team titles, but this match was just too short and kind of had a stupid ending, so I give it an 8. And of course, Riddle and New Day before that was a 10, so it kind of balanced out to make it a 9. So, I mean, like I said, it was an excellent show, from start to finish, but with the exception of that opening bout. But, the rest of the show, we saw some great stuff with Bad Bunny and Miz and Morrison. Bad Bunny gave a pretty good promo later on the night with, this becoming a tag team match after Miz and Morrison defiled Bad Bunny's car. The phone is ringing. So, a lot of people have been saying this should be a tag team match, and it definitely should be, and it was. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be pretty good. Rhea Ripley and Asuka picked up a loss against Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax before what is going to be a series of great matches for the women's tag team titles. They're really trying to take these tag titles seriously. People may say they're not, but I think they are. But Rhea Ripley almost looking like she's going to turn heel at WrestleMania or right before WrestleMania. Either way, I'm looking forward to it. Her song is going to be performed live. Rhea's is, and I'm pretty sure if depending on this, it looks like they may actually have Asuka kind of eke out a victory over Rhea Ripley. I'll be pleasantly surprised either way, but it looks like they might actually do that. I'll reach a formal conclusion when I go to do my predictions right before WrestleMania. But yeah, looks like it's good stuff. So great stuff with Cedric and Shelton Benjamin versus MVP, not versus MVP, but they confronted them in the back. Lashley said he's going to kick the crap out of them, and then he did so in a really good match against Cedric Alexander. And then of course Lashley, of course, standing tall after everything there. We also saw a number of really good video packages for a number of the matches. I'm really looking forward to it. Probably a favorite video package may very well be Fiend and Orton. It's I see a lot of people hating on the storyline, but I love it. So it was good stuff. Also love the matches with Mustafa Ali and Riddle. Definitely excited for that U.S. title match. Like everything in this WrestleMania, people were criticizing how it's come together. I think it's come together nicely. Drew McIntyre picked up a win against Corbin at the end of the show to wrap things up. And yeah, just a great night of wrestling. And I am super excited for WrestleMania. Continuing WrestleMania week, it's going to be great stuff. So I think it's official that the pay-per-view NXT TakeOver Night 2, Stand and Deliver, was just absolutely fantastic. The only slightly weak part of the night was the MSK interview, and only because of things got a little bit stupid at the end, but other than that, the show was basically perfect. And beyond perfect in certain respects, so it kind of gets a boost in ratings from me, honestly, because of that awesome video package between Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly. But still, this show was just so good. Santos Escobar and Jordan Devlin kicking off the show with that cruiserweight ladder match. Then you saw MSK, like I said. Women's Tag Team Championship match, TCB versus The Way, was amazing. And amazing as well as they could go. North American Championship match, definitely loved that. Gargano defeated Reed. I was surprised by that to a degree, but then again, now I think about it, Gargano's just way too entertaining as North American Champion to take that belt off of him. Finn Balor and Karrion Kross, I love their video package, their walk to the ring, and then the NXT Championship match itself. Kross picking up the victory, as well he should, over Finn Balor. And honestly, part of me wonders if Finn Balor should just go back to the main roster because he has completely repackaged himself in a beneficial way. We saw another Frankie Monet video teasing her arrival on Tuesday. Looking forward to that. Escobar had an interview. He's always really good at promos, so I always enjoy his stuff. And then, like I said, that excellent. Now, this is the second time I've seen this video, but it still hits me just the same because it's just awesome. That O'Reilly versus Cole video. Their walk I loved, and then their amazing match, just like performance-wise, this was just top-notch for both men. Adam Cole always puts on a great show, but so does Kyle O'Reilly. So Adam Cole probably should go to the main roster very soon. Probably not yet because he's probably going to want revenge on O'Reilly, but honestly, I would be fine if he just went to the main roster and ended this feud right here like that. So either way, great show. Cannot wait for WrestleMania. Now I have to watch SmackDown so I can get on to watching WrestleMania. The April 7th, 2021 edition of AEW Dynamite was a mediocre show. Definitely paled in comparison to NXT TakeOver from the same night. So, kick things off with the fine segment with the Inner Circle, arriving. The Acclaim did a goofy little promo. Adam Page had, it wasn't a bad match, but an okay match against Caster. Of course, he won. My most hated segment in the night came up next. It was a Death Triangle having an interview, interrupted by the Best Friends who had like a "we remember" thing, and I just felt like it was really stupid. Inner Circle had a really good promo. Christian Cage got his interview interrupted by Taz, which was eh. We also saw an okay match with Jurassic Express taking on Bear Country. Wasn't one of the best matches, but it was okay. The Factory had a promo that's Cody's friend, his former friend. QT Marshall. Yeah, he has his own group called The Factory now. Jake Roberts and Lance Archer interrupted Sting in his interview for the billionth time, said that, it's their time now. Sting said that Lance needs to try harder. Team Taz had another promo indicating that there are problems coming, and, probably a split in the group very soon. TNT Championship match kind of turned the tide for me for Dynamite on this week. In a really good match between Darby Allin and JD Drake, who I last saw when he fought at that special Evolve show that the WWE Network aired back last summer. Or rather, the summer of 2019, excuse me. We also saw HFO, which is the Hardy Family Office, attacking Darby Allin. Allie showing how crazy she is. She got beat up by Ty Conti. Jericho was having an interview, got interrupted by the Pinnacle. And then, of course, the Pinnacle started beating the crap out of him. And the rest of the Inner Circle couldn't come out and save Jericho in time, so Mike Tyson came out and beat everyone up. Okay. Britt Baker had another great segment there with her interview. Allie and Ty Conti kind of stole the show with their match. I thought it was a really good matchup with Ty Conti winning. Jade and Red Velvet had a video. And then the okay match with the Good Brothers and Omega taking on Young Bucks and Moxley. Young Bucks betrayed Moxley because they refused to beat up Omega. And then, of course, they sealed the deal after it by beating up Moxley even further. Okay, now back to WrestleMania week with the wrestling that I really, really enjoy. I wish I had done some predictions for TakeOver, like overall, and I'm not going to do any predictions for TakeOver Night 2, although I do have an opportunity at this moment to do so, but it is what it is. Night 1 of TakeOver for NXT on April 7th, 2021 was an excellent show. It only featured basically 7 segments with 6 matches. So the national anthem part was pretty cool with the guitar. Pete Dunne versus Kushida was an excellent way to start off the show. I was curious, though, about the choice of Dunne over Kushida to a degree, because both of them have been getting really decent pushes, and it looks like they're trying to recover Pete Dunne following, his most recent loss for the NXT Championship. But, both characters are still pretty strong. I think they did very well in this. I just hope to see Kushida back in his winning ways pretty soon. The Gauntlet matchup was really, really good to determine the number 1 contender for the North American Championship. So at the end of the day, Swerve ended up becoming the last person eliminated out of all this as Bronson Reed won. Great showing for Leon Ruff, Isaiah Swerve Scott, Bronson Reed, Cameron Grimes, Dexter Lumis, and LA Knight. Loved this match. It was a great match. The United Kingdom Championship matchup between Walter and Ciampa was amazing. I definitely loved it. Probably my favorite match of the night, to be honest. It was actually, no, there were only 5 matches for the night, so I just took a look at something else here. There was a mistake on my part with my notes. But anyways, that was an excellent match between Walter and Ciampa. If you haven't seen it, check it out because it's great. We also saw a vignette for Frankie Monet, which is Taya Valkyrie. She's going to be making her debut on the first episode of NXT on Tuesday, right after WrestleMania. MSK won the triple threat for the vacant NXT Tag Team Championships. They defeated Grizzled Young Veterans and Legado del Fantasma. Another fantastic match. Really hard to follow the Walter versus Ciampa match, but either way, this was a good showing. Women's Championship in the end, Raquel Gonzalez picked up the victory, becoming the new NXT Women's Champion, defeating Io Shirai, who has held the championship since NXT TakeOver in Your House last June. So, a great show. This was an excellent match as well for the Women's Championship. Just really enjoyed this. Looking forward to night 2.
The April 9th, 2021 episode of SmackDown was a great send-off for WrestleMania. We saw 3 promos strung throughout the night for the main event of WrestleMania, which is obviously for the Universal title between Daniel Bryan, Edge, and the champion Roman Reigns. They all had excellent promos, so that was great. Saw a fatal 4-way match for the SmackDown Tag Team Championships. The Dirty Dogs retained. I really wish this match would have been at WrestleMania, but it is what it is because it was a great match and it was befitting of WrestleMania. Bianca Belair gave a great promo, or interview rather. Big E had a nice promo video. Loved the Orton and Fiend video. Tamina defeated Nia Jax in a disqualification, but it was fine because it's building towards WrestleMania and the anticipation of who's going to challenge for the women's tag team titles. Speaking of which, all the women's tag teams that are involved in that tag team turmoil to determine the number 1 contenders, they all got into a scuffle in the back after Riot Squad was trying to have an interview. Seth Rollins with an anti-Cesaro ad. Probably my favorite moment of the night, or at least one of them. Great stuff. Sonya Deville apparently disagrees with Adam Pearce about the decision for a number of things. So, sort of a falling out between them, maybe hinting that Sonya Deville is going to return to the ring, which I will love. Sasha Banks with a great interview. All of her promos are always excellent. I just love her as a heel. Lashley and Drew had another great video here. Love that video package. Sami Zayn with an exclusive stuff from the network or whatever. It was great as he was trying to get in with Logan Paul, trying to show everyone that he's good friends with Logan Paul. Logan Paul and his brother were sparring in a boxing ring, and they were just annoyed at Sami Zayn's presence, and Sami Zayn got locked out of the building, tried to deny that he got locked out, and then Kevin Owens beats up Sami Zayn after Sami Zayn's going off on the announcers. Andre the Giant Battle Royal was pretty fun. It was, I wish this was also at WrestleMania, but it is what it is. Jey Uso won last eliminating Shinsuke Nakamura. Great showing for pretty much everyone involved in that. And that's that. We're ready for WrestleMania.